Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it will be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. You don't need to stick to a contract because you're my mother? Good luck with that. This happened roughly 5 years ago, just after I turned 18. My mother was running a small art supply shop in a small farming community I grew up in. She took this shop over after the original owners went bankrupt and sold it off. She was doing a pretty good job. Both of my parents are pretty business-minded and would make amazing business partners if they could stand being in the same room together longer than 30 minutes. Just making a few silly choices here and there, she got us kids to help out quite often. One visit during the Christmas holidays, I had come up from my dad's to stay for about a month, and my mother had the amazing idea to teach the 3 kids, me, just turned 18, brother 16, stepsister 8, about having a real job and printed up contracts for us to become employees under her. For my brother and sister, these were not worth the paper they were written on, as they were under 18. But because I was 18, it would have been legally binding. This wasn't her intention at all, but I wasn't willing to take the risk, so I filled it out with complete nonsense, putting my name down as Elvis, saying I had jail time, drawing a cat as a signature, and so on. She went nuts at me. I was apparently being disrespectful and childish. When I tried to explain myself, I was told to shut up and not to talk back to her. The conversation would go like this, word for word. "How could you do this? Why would you do something so stupid?" Because, shut up, I'm still talking. After this, it was dropped, and everyone carried on working like normal. Then I started to notice small and stupid things Mom would yell at the kids for. They come in from lunch 5 minutes late. They are in breach of contract. A friend comes in and talks to them for 2 minutes. They are in breach of contract. They want to go to the movies with friends and have a proper holiday for a day. You're in breach of contract. And this is when I decided to read the contract. I didn't before as I had no intention of signing it, and it was ridiculous. Pay was minimum wage, travel costs plus food cost, and came out like $5 a week. No days off unless you were seriously sick, 30-minute lunch break in an 8-hour day, no personal communication during work hours, no food or drink while working, arriving late and leaving early would be penalized. These were the worst ones I can remember. I decided this was total nonsense and I needed to teach her something. So using my limited legal knowledge for my IT degree, I rewrote the contract. Minimum wage was travel reimbursed, paid day off for something as little as a cold, 1-hour lunch break. Personal conversation is allowed as long as I'm working at the same time. Leaving and arriving 20 minutes late or early caused no penalty. Also, due to my IT qualification, any hour I do any IT-related work, gain double pay, even if it was just for 5 minutes. Contract become void after 2 weeks. I was due to go home in 3. I took this new contract to my mom at the end of the week. I say, "Mom, I'm sorry for being a pain about the contract." So I read it through, corrected some mistakes I could see and signed it for you. "Oh, thank you. I'll get that signed immediately. And it will start on Monday." To my brother and sister, "See, this is good to learn. I purposely left some mistakes for you to find. But neither of you read your contract. Always read your contract carefully." Sure enough, she signed it without reading it, gave me a copy and I was employed for a few weeks. When it came about time to hand in our hours and get paid, my brother and sister went first, got their $5 and were happy. When my turn came, I handed over a notebook with my detailed notes on every task I did, how long it took, and at the end, a bill for about $300. I had done a lot of IT work and overtime to fix her work computer, and I was handed my $5. This look a bit light. No, you get $5. And she goes through the rundown of the old contract spelling. Yes, but that's their contract, not mine. Check the notebook and contract. Mom checks the notebook, getting gradually more pissed off. I am not paying you this. This is ridiculous. But you signed the contract. You agreed to it. I hand her a copy of the signed contract. She reads it, then refuses to pay. She is my mother and this is stupid and rips it up. Then leaving with my siblings, leaving me to make my own way home. I got a ride home in a cop car. The cop was a good friend of Dad. I asked a favor at the station since I wanted my mother to learn a lesson. But I didn't want to go to court or anything. She was told that the law is on my side. Me and my mother are over 18 and the contract is legally binding. She can either pay me the $300 or I can take her to court over refusing to pay an employee. I ended up getting the $300. We didn't speak for over a year. My dad and Nana laughed with me when I told them. Moral of the story: always read a contract before signing it. Next story. Oops, Karen meets off-duty cop. Hello everyone. Just figured I would share something that happened to me some time back. I don't use Reddit much, so I apologize ahead of time. Let me set the stage. I was in one of the big home improvement chain stores. You know, the one with the big blue logo of a house. There are a few people involved, other customer, manager, Karen and me. First, I was in a bit of a hurry as I had a pretty busy schedule that day and just wanted to get in and out as quickly as possible. Well, I walked around for what seemed like forever, pacing every aisle, and I could not find what I was looking for. By the way, just a common water filter from what I recall. I also did not come across any employees out of the floor, as the only ones I saw were checking people out. I walked down one aisle and saw a Hispanic man, race will be irrelevant later, grabbing some items off the shelf. He is clearly not an employee as he is well dressed in nice jeans and a polo. The only reason he first gave me pause was the radio on his belt, but clearly figured out it was not one from the store as they used some kind of smartphone looking radio. In desperation, I said hell, he might know where my item was. Maybe he had the swagger of a man who has clearly been in this store a few times. So we begin. I say, "Excuse me, sir. I know you don't work here, but by any chance you have any idea where the water filters are? They seem to have moved them again, and I cannot locate any employees." The guy laughs and says, "I know. I think they only keep one employee at a time to work the entire store. I know it gets very frustrating. Those corporate folks are always looking for a way to save a buck and kill customer service in the process. Sad but so true. Yeah, I just picked up some water filters the other day here. Let me show you where they moved to." "Oh, thank you. But you really don't have to. Just point me in the direction and I'm sure I can get it from there." Small talk as I followed him to the location and he pointed down the aisle directly at the item. At this point, we were both standing in front of the store facing down the aisle when from the distance we hear, "Hey you, Jose, Juan Carlos." She muttered about a half a dozen Spanish names out. Me and the other customer, not realizing she is hollering at us, were just finishing up our conversation. Karen now standing right behind us and getting right up into the other customer's ears, and not kidding, about 2 inches away. "Didn't you hear me holler for you?
I need some assistance. Do you speak English?
I turned around seeing the typical soccer mom Karen that was dressed like she was about to go out on a night on the town and was well out of place in a hardware store. He tells her, "I'm sorry ma'am, I don't work here, but can I help you with something?" Karen, guess not hearing the "I don't work here" part, she goes off on a rant.
You damn lazy Mexicans.
She said a few more racial slurs.
I have been hollering for you for a while, and you can help your own kind out, but not if I'm white?
Me, confused at this moment, as I am white, and getting pretty angry at this point, as I have already spent longer here than I wanted to, and now I'm dealing with this. I tell her, "Excuse me, but you need to calm the hell down." The other customer, in a forceful manner, swipes his arm across my chest and pushes me backward in a "I got this" fashion. Still playing it all calm, cool, and collective. He tells her, "I'm sure if you can calm down for 1 minute, we can get this solved. Can you please tell me about your problem?"
My problem is all you lazy Mexicans taking all the jobs and not wanting to work. Where your damn manager is?
Me not knowing when to shut up, I say under my breath but still audible, "Which?" And Karen lunges for me and slaps me right across my face hard as hell. The other customer, like some kind of ninja grabbing Karen's arm, spun her around so fast, all I saw was her face planted on the floor with a knee in her back, while holding one of Karen's arms. He grabs his radio and makes a call requesting an officer to our location. The manager comes running to see what all the fuss was about, and he screams, "Get off that lady right now! We have called the cops!" The other customer, by this time he has already put away his radio and had the badge in his hand and flashes it to the manager. "I have already called for a car." He looks at me with one of those "please say yes" looks. "Would you like to press charges?" And I tell him, "Of course I do." As I rub my face and I'm not kidding, I have not been hit that hard in years. I swear I saw stars. The other customer slowly got Karen back to her feet, and you can tell by this point she knows she has messed up badly, as she just stood there and did not say a single word. The manager asks, "Can you tell me what happened?" And the other customer told him the whole story. A few minutes later, the patrol car arrived, then the other customer, manager, Karen, and the cop moved outside the store. I stayed back and decided to go grab my filters while they get it all sorted out. As I walk out the store, I see Karen being loaded up in the back of the car in handcuffs. Let me tell you that this was very satisfying to see. The other customer had me sign some stuff when he noticed my last name. We found out he is good friends with a lot of my family. Next story. Caught because he tipped a waitress $50 with my credit card. To jail with you. This happened nearly 10 years ago, when I was a college student. February 2009, since I looked up records. Can't show months for proof. Throw away, since I did some shady things to get revenge. Long one, hold tight. I was working full-time and going to college full-time. After my morning chemistry lab, I drove from campus up where I worked, only to realize my wallet was missing from my purse. I had used it that morning, but it was nowhere to be found. I called my credit card company, and sure enough, there was a recent transaction at a local bar for a large tab. I think any normal person would have claimed fraud and called the rest of the wallet's items a loss. I immediately called the police to report my wallet was stolen either while I was in class or perhaps some other time. The police told me to contact a different jurisdiction. The school was on a reservation. I called the reservation police, who told me that it is also not their jurisdiction since I wasn't sure the loss occurred on campus and I had discovered the loss elsewhere. Cue my frustration and the budding vengeance. I'm a people person and having worked retail operations for years, had a good sense of how to communicate with employees. I called a restaurant where my card was used and gave a description of the situation along with the last digits of the card number. The luckiest part was that the woman on the line happened to be the server. She gave me some key information that she legally should never have provided to someone who wasn't the authorities. But I think my story appealed to her. She said the tab was so high because they left such a huge tip, and the guy who used the card said his girlfriend was treating him to lunch and drinks, hence the female name on the card. As well, he was with two people who paid for their own food and drinks with their own credit card. I asked her for the name on that second card, which she gave up without thinking twice. If that wasn't shady enough, I took advantage of a customer database to find the phone number for the uniquely named non-stealing gentleman who paid for his own tab while dining with the thief. I built up the nerve to call the innocent guy a couple of days later, claiming to be a private investigator. I calmly warned him that he would be considered an accomplice to the crime if he did not provide the name and the phone number of the person he ate with at that specific restaurant. He was nervous and didn't want to help, saying that he should call his lawyer before talking to me. I told him as a private investigator, I would ensure he's not held accountable if he would cooperate, and he could only provide a name but no phone number. Without the thief's phone number coming up in that customer database, I turned to social media, and the name pulled up a local private profile. At the time, Facebook allowed banners to still be visible, which, if I remember the stone age of Facebook, was basically a status. His status was complaining about the chem lab test that I too was about to take. I did not recognize his face, but I could now confirm it was stolen from the lab if my professor could ID his picture. I printed the Facebook page with his picture, his status, and brought it to my chemistry teacher. I explained the situation and he told me the student sat at the corner of my table. It all made sense, because in the chemistry lab, we'd put our bags and purses at the front of the class so as not to contaminate them with whatever we worked with. That was when he had stolen my wallet from my purse days before. Working with my professor, the campus police came to during class and arrested him. The best part, he was on probation for other misbehavior and so was actually put in jail for this crime. I wasn't a part of the trial or anything like this, but I did explain my tactic to the reservation police who patted me on the back. Oh, and I received compensation checks from his prison, $2 each, until my claimed $50 fossil wallet loss was remediated. As a much older person, I now hope he has his life together. I didn't remember much of him in class, but I was a very focused student. We all make mistakes, but his youth seemed to be defined by a string of bad choices. Looking at his name in public record since, it shows he hasn't quite found the right path. Next story. You only make appointments over the phone? Sure, I'll call and make one. This happened quite a few years ago, and before the pandemic, so it wasn't a social distancing thing. I went to a doctor's surgery to make an appointment. I had been coming to this surgery for years and had never run into problems coming in to see if there was an appointment that day. I didn't think this would be any different, but when I went up to the receptionist told me sternly that they couldn't make appointments in person. They could only make appointments over the phone. I asked her if this was a new policy, as I'd been able to make appointments in person before, but she snapped at me and told me they only took appointments by phone. No exceptions. The surgery was empty. There were no other patients waiting. It was just me and this receptionist. So I whipped out my mobile phone, looked her dead in the eye, and phoned. The phone rang and she answered. "Hello," I said. "I'd like to make an appointment." At first I thought she might hang up on me, but she awkwardly made me an appointment while doing everything in her power to avoid making eye contact with me. Then I hung up and said to her, "Hi, I'm here for my appointment. The receptionist glared at me, but waved me over to the waiting area. I don't know if this was a weird policy they had enacted, or if the receptionist was being awkward. Either way, I got my appointment. The next time I came in, they were back to taking appointment bookings in person. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.